Thank you, sir.
Thank
I,
you.
Professor Mickey Barua, welcome all the dignitaries to the AICT Training and Learning Academy approved 1 week online faculty development program on design thinking organized by Vidyalankar Institute of Technology. Welcome once again to the forum. After a very enlightening heady start, we would now like to continue the momentum by proceeding into the second session. Just I would like to reminisce a little bit about design. Our soul craves for good design. That's why sometimes when you use a product, you feel it is a great one. Why? Because it's a reflection of who we are and what we need. Trying to get to that state with our products or any other service is definitely one of the ultimate goals of design. I would like to quote here what Steve Jobs says about design. Design is the fundamental soul of a human made creation that ends up expressing itself in successive outer layers of a product or service. That was a bit of some random thoughts about the theme of our faculty development program. To get better equipped with this, I would take this opportunity to extend my hearty welcome to the keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Arun Raman, the Chief Intelligence Officer at Grey Group, India. Welcome, sir, to the AICTE-sponsored ATAL FDP on design thinking on this virtual platform. Welcome, sir. First, let me take the privilege to introduce our guest to our delegates. Sir Arun Raman is presently the Chief Intelligence Officer, Grey India. In addition to spearheading the strategy function at Grey India, Mr. Arun Raman, sir, leads the intelligence team that gets excited with the intersection points between behavioral data and consumer insights, leading a mixed team of data analysts, sociology majors, and brand strategists. The team is charged with bringing clarity into adversity and helping brands find stronger insights and transformative strategies. A member of Grey Group's AMEA Regional Planning Council, Sir is charged with helping Grey be future ready and build its regional reputation. Sir has been a regular jury member for the EFFIE Awards in India as well as for the APAC EFFIE Awards. With over 26 years of experience in brand consumer planning in various agencies such as Lovelentas, Ambiance Publicis, Grey Worldwide, and DDB Mudra in India, Uganda, Kenya, and Sri Lanka, he has also undertaken brand projects and client workshops in Cambodia and Singapore. Of immense joy are a couple of Cannes Lions and a few EFFIES that motivates him to get to work every day, rain or sunshine. An engineer and an MBA by qualification, Mr. Arun enjoys nothing more than solving the crossword while listening to old Hindi movie songs, even as he has one eye almost always on some cricket match happening in some part of the world. That was really an interesting profile to read. Welcome, sir, to this virtual Atal Academy AICTE sponsored FDP. It's really a pleasure to have you here on this platform today. I would now request, sir, to deliver the keynote address for the FDP. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. for a exaggerated introduction. I think you have a lovely career in advertising because that's what we do. We exaggerate a lot. Seriously speaking, it's been a privilege to be invited for this session as a keynote speaker. So my warm greetings to everyone at AICTE, especially the ATAL cell, all faculty, office bearers, and students of the Vidyalankar Institute. These are very tough times, and we're all doing sessions online. And it's of this is the time when you actually sit back and look at how human behavior has changed. And that will be some of the important aspects of design thinking that one needs to keep in mind. Um, the thing about design thinking, if I could share my point of view, would be that there is more to these two words than just a phrase called design thinking. And with your permission, I'd like to ramble a bit about what I think the world is going to become in the future and how design thinking would be an important aspect of it. Uh, First and foremost, you must be thinking, what is he doing here? I'm neither an academic, nor was he a good student in both engineering and my MBA. And I come from an industry which is probably the last, which is the advertising industry, where most of the innovation is happening at the front end, which is in service companies and manufacturing companies. And we normally come right in the end. So as I was saying, I probably am underqualified in this August session, and I would request you to bear with my ignorance, if I could use the word. However, the reason why I think I was invited to be here is because what I do every day in my job is take care of strategy. And strategy is at a very simple phase. Everyone knows when you want to go from point A to point B, you have multiple options. And you take the strategically best route and say that is there a traffic jam there, or is there going to be too many signals there, or is it going to be an unlit road here? So there are multiple paths to reach the same destination, and you choose the one which you feel is most optimal for the objective in mind. Do you want to reach a place fast, or have you left home too early and you don't want to look like a fool reaching some place before time? So you choose the right path. Choosing from multiple options in its pure sense is the word strategy. However, this is what I do every day, right? And the difference between pure strategy and design thinking is that the difference between strategy and design thinking is actually the word unmet customer needs. Not every consumer is aware of what he or she will need tomorrow. And that's where design thinking actually comes in. I'm not really sure whether everything that we are involved with right now in this working session, be it your laptop or your mobile phones or for that matter, headphones to be listening to it, was even a felt need till these products came into the market. And what happened was that it changed the way people behaved. That means there was a latent need, which Dr. Burrow said about the great Steve Jobs and how he spoke about it. There was a latent need. But then applying design thinking to make those needs rampant and to the forefront and overt brings about a massive change in not just the business of Apple, but in the behavior of people. Today, we're all sitting in this bad year in all our lives, which is the pandemic. And thank God that the computers are here and the Wi-Fi is here and the mobile phones are here, that we are able to get on with what we are meant to do without it becoming an obstacle in our daily living. And that is what design thinking allows. But what is design thinking? Design thinking is not just about a well-designed product. Uh, the same Steve Jobs said, get closer than ever to your customers. Industry, we use the word consumers because we are more B2C than B2B. In B2B, which is business to business, we use the word customer. In business to consumer, we use the word consumer, the people who actually use the product. Be so close to your consumer, so that you can tell them what they need well before they realize it themselves. Just think about it. Do we really do that But if you operate design thinking as a philosophy in our everyday thinking, you would be able to tell your kid that the kid is hungry before even she realizes it. You can tell your husband that he's angry before he even realizes it. What does it basically mean? Be so in tune with whom you are with and whom you are for that you would be able to find a strategic solution of creating a new need. And that's what we do in our industry. I look after a large number of massive brands in the market, be it an extremely old brand, 97 years old, called Raymond, which is a menswear brand that we are all aware of, to new age gaming brands. In my past, I have worked with brands as diverse as Maruti and Bajaj and Surf Excel and Pepsodent and Clear Shampoo and Godrej. But there are products and then there are human needs. The link between the two can happen if we have an understanding of an insight into consumers' minds. Uh, what we do is finding an unmet need in people and presenting our product truths in that context. It's a very simple thing. If you live with the product, you might not find a relevance. But if you live with consumers, you might find relevance. And that's what design thinking forces us to do. Why? Why am I constantly talking about consumer? Why am I not talking about factories? That's because the beginning of design thinking is about understanding human behavior. And I'd like to spend a few minutes on this. After having gone through the structure of the course content over the next 3-4 days, I realized that a lot of experts, be it Dr. Chang from Canada, the Indian experts who are coming in from such blue chip companies, and the core aspect of all of them seems to be how do you bring design thinking into everyday life? And what is life? Life is human. We're not applying design thinking for making the trees any greener. What we are planning to do over the next 4 days is apply design thinking to make our lives easier. And that's what the beginning of the entire exercises. And I hope that over the next 3-4 days, that's what the faculty development program would be focusing on, which is how do we get elements of human behavior. We call it consumer behavior in our industry, but in a lot of other industries, it's called human behavior. And I'd like to show you some examples of how understanding human behavior and using design as a principle and results in a whole new set of behavior. Please, if you find anywhere that I'm going too fast or if I'm going too slow, it's okay to put your hand up and interrupt. I love interruptions. Which brought me to this topic when I was invited that why is design thinking an important topic today? And we are not talking to design companies like the IDEOs and the AKQs. We are talking to engineers who are in the audience, technicians or the faculty, and technocrats, the future people who will enter industry. Why is this topic important? Why is it important today? Why was it not important 10 years back or 15 years back? And that's because development is a construct of the ecology, the environment, the politics, the ambitions. And more and more, you'll find that tectonic that's happened through the ages and what was the role of science and technology in those eras. If you could permit me, that an ice age. The world was covered with ice. The need of human beings at that time was survival. And in the ice age was the discovery of the fire, which allowed people to survive the extreme cold temperatures. Then came the Iron Age, the discovery of metal, iron, bronze, which resulted in man creating tools and implements to do his tasks better. His tasks of hunting and gathering. With Iron Age came weaponry. With Iron Age came a sickle, which allowed him to gather the farm produce or the jungle produce, if I could use, and hunt for better meat. It allowed for people to use their hands for things that hands are not programmed for. So the Iron Age was the era of invention, where people invented tools and impediments to mirror the hand and do more than what the hand could do. We then entered the industrial age, the 1800s and the early 1900s. Mechanization. Mechanization to help human beings do more efficiently what they were doing. So if you were digging a road and you were filling it up with gravel, comes a machine called a road roller, which flattens the road. So instead of 300 men pounding the soil with heavy soil compactors, comes the road roller, which compacts it. So adds efficiency. So Ice Age, survival. Iron Age, tools and implements to do things beyond what hands could do. And then comes the industrial age, which is to do more efficiently what we were already doing. We now are in the innovation age. Some of the biggest companies in the world have been born in the last 35 years. Google is 38 years old today. Apple is 32 years old today. Microsoft is 39, 40 years old today. These companies weren't there during the industrial age. They were the precursors to the innovation age. And what is innovation? A time when we are all striving out to come out with the new and surprising and delighting people with. We have entered an era where how unique are you is far more important than how well you work, how well you help me do something. So from a problem solution era, which is what mechanization arrived at, we are now at an opportunity. We are making people think about stuff they never thought before. It is encouraging a whole new way of thinking. It's encouraging a whole new way of behavior. And I do hope that over the next 3 days, with all your faculty, you'll be able to imbibe into some of these examples which have changed the way people think. Because you see something unique for the first time, you say, damn, I never thought about that. I never thought that I could watch hours and hours of movies without stepping out of my home when I want to watch Netflix. I never thought that I could live a life without aspiring to buy a car because I can still arrive in style, Uber. So you never thought about these business models before because previously it was not linked to imagination, it was linked to efficiency. We are living in an innovation age which is fueled by imagination. And in imagination lies the next big opportunity for all our youngsters, for all our faculty, and for all in the future of the word industry. Because what we are doing, and that's what we do in my industry, we are constantly redesigning the way people must think differently. It's no longer only about making people think about the product, it's a people think about their own lives and how they can better it. And therein lies the intersection between the topic today and what's written on the screen. We are constantly redesigning the way people must think differently. And that's where the core of design actually lies. It's not about the product, it's not about someone from an art school, it's not about creative thinking alone. It's about creating a new thinking in people's minds and hearts. And that will be the future of the world as we know. Design thinking is time to speak about it thanks to the pandemic. Although nobody should say thanks to the pandemic, it's not a good thing to say. But what it has helped us do is that we are all constantly thinking unique ways of doing stuff because the old way is gone. And therein lies the opportunity going forward. When and if, I'm using the word when first before if. When and if the pandemic gets over, we will all get back to a new normal. Someone has to start designing that new normal. It's not going to happen accidentally because people are going to be thinking multiple. And someone will come and say all those multiple thinkings can be made into one unique new behavior. Some examples of how design thinking can change the way people think. Because in my book, thinking is designing new thinking. If you can design new thinking, yeah, it sounds like hypnosis. It sounds like a bad thing, but no, it's not really. Most successes happen. So I was talking to some of your faculty members at the beginning of this exercise, and I was saying that for a long time, it's called the greatest nation in the world, called the United States of America, did not have voting colored people. The civil rights movement, and I have a dream. I have a dream that one day everyone in this great nation will have equal rights. It designed a new way of thinking for that generation of Black civil rights movement actually got its rights of franchise. It continued. Now look at the Mr. Barack Obama and Mr. Donald Trump. One said collectivism when America was getting fragmented. He said, yes, we can come together. When Mr. Trump fought for his first round of elections, he found that America was slipping down in the world stature of being the unspoken leader. And he said, make America great again. Now, this might sound like words and phrases. It starts from a deep understanding of who his customer was. So when Obama said, yes, we can, he understood the hopes and aspirations and ambitions of a youth population in that country who were feeling that they don't have equal opportunities when it comes to jobs, because always the big banks who had the jobs. And changed the thinking of a larger set of people and said, yes, we can. And similarly with Mr. Trump. So design thinking sounds a heavy jargon word, but if you just break it down to designing new thinking, it's easy for us because then the power rests with us. You don't have to be a creative person to do design thinking. Mr. Obama wasn't a creative person, neither was Mr. Trump. And closer home, the angry young man of Amitabh Bachchan or designed a way of thinking by saying that goody two shoes will never win the war of daily life. You need to have a little bit of machismo to. And just that brand Raymond, when everyone in the 70s, inspired by Bollywood, was overtly macho, thanks to the angry young man imagery, comes Raymond, who says being a gentleman is macho. So cover up, don't show your chest hair, wear a tie, wear a jacket, be a gentleman, the complete man. While the angry young man shaped the new way of thinking, Raymond comes a bit later and shapes another way of thinking, and both are powerful. So it's easy to get caught thinking only happens in design studios. No, it happens in movies, it happens in elections, it happens in products, as I'm going to talk about a bit later. But the is design thinking works extremely well when you want to change behavior of a large set of people. It's not about one individual. Because what are you really doing? You're finding true insight of why do people behave in a certain manner, and you apply design thinking principles. I'm going to just show you one example. Arlanda is the airport that's in Stockholm, Sweden. And we all know Sweden is up there in the map. It's a Scandinavian country closest to the North Pole. Now, many people want to go to Sweden on their holiday, especially in the summertime, because this place is always cool and cold. It's got some great hot springs. You can watch the northern lights. You don't have to go to Finland. You can watch the northern lights from Sweden. And further up north is Lap country, which is where the Arctic Circle actually begins. Now, it's so far up there that people who go on a holiday to Sweden actually come from warm countries. Someone who's in a cold country will not go to Sweden for a holiday, right? So, Africa, Australia, parts of Asia, Middle East, these are the places which are warm countries. And you want to go to Sweden for a holiday. That means average flight is about 10 hours to reach Arlanda terminal. Now, Arlanda terminal had a problem, which is every time a flight landed, this place where people exit was littered with cigarette butts. So people were traveling 10 hours, 12 hours, and the minute they get out the flight and clear customs and come out, the first human behavior for smokers is to light up a cigarette. And the airport was spending hundreds and thousands of kronas every year just to clean up the mess, which is created by littered bugs. And these are Western European countries, naturally clean, very beautiful. So they really don't want to see the place littered. But the Swedes are extremely soft-spoken people and extremely well-mannered. They know that I can't just be brutal about it, because people do come after 12-hour flights, 14-hour flights, and their first welcoming message into my country cannot be, don't do that. So the problem existed that they were spending money on trying to stop a certain consumer behavior of smoking outside the terminal and littering the place with cigarette butts, but failing. And the reason for that, they had got these no smoking thank yous all across the airport, but didn't work. And that's when a behavioral scientist, one of the greatest thinkers in modern human behavior, who's written a great book called Biology, if you want to read it. It's called BUY, Biology. Martin Lindstrom, he discovered that if you're a smoker, I know it's a college environment, I should not be speaking about bad habits too much, but understand the human mind. A smoker doesn't read the no smoking sign, and it triggers an urgent need to smoke. That's how the human mind works when it comes to addiction. So he doesn't see the red cross, he sees the cigarette and he feels the urge for it. So no smoking signs were not working anywhere in the world, and more so in the Arlanda airport in Sweden. So what he does a simple design change by understanding customer needs. He put this one poster at the arrival, and smoking that triggers a thought, arrow. There's no cigarette sign. If you want to smoke, go. There's a smoking area there. So that can be cleaned regularly. It's a simple application of behavioral science, which is what is known as design thinking, to save the airport authorities hundreds of millions of kronas and still not come across or anything. So this is the basic principle of using design thinking to change behavior. What I hope over 3 to 4 days you'll be able to imbibe in these extremely interesting sessions put together by the core committee. I do hope that you'll be able to understand that it all starts with putting people first. It's not about putting the product first. It's not about putting an app first. It's not about putting efficiency first. It's about putting people first. And let me give you a few examples. I give an example of the Arlanda airport, but let me give you another example. Also, Insights are a deep-rooted understanding of why people behave in a certain way. We saw in the Arlanda airport, insight was not about what they behave, which is about littering the place, but why. And the why is basically because the word no and the cross sign were blind spots in people's minds. That is the insight, the why behind the behavior. You only will understand the power of innovative strategies to create disproportionate results. Now being formed in when the time I was doing my engineering, my MBA, there's a statement which used to say the balance sheets for those who understand accounts and accounting will go on. The concern philosophy. It was about keep every year going on and see whether we have increased our profit margins. But when we look at people first and not profit first, you'll understand why the startup generation is got such big unicorns and $1 trillion businesses in 3 years and 4 years. It's not coming from the logical thinking of coming illogical way of thinking, calling people first. And that's where the innovative strategies actually lie, and they give disproportionate results. You'll hopefully understand the value of prototyping, because when you think people first, you'll come out with something, test it, and then put the right product in. Bill Gates, in his book, At the Speed of Thought, did mention by saying that if you get it 80% right, put it out. You can do the second version, the third version to get it 100% right. So speed is important, because when you look at the innovation economy, the idea matters more than the actual physical product. And if the idea can be introduced first and have a change in people's behavior, you can better it and better it, version 2.0, version 3.0, you can add to that. But if you 100% perfection, you might find that it's no longer relevant because something else innovative has come into the market and is taken and it's moved people away towards that. And I saw some interesting sessions that you're going to be having, I think, tomorrow, which is a part of storytelling, narratives, and how it has deeper connections. Because if it's people, it needs to be storytelling. It's not bots and AI, which needs a binary language. It needs a language based on our mythology. It needs a language based on what we think and we talk, and use that to create a new way of thinking. But today, where we are is we are in an engineering institution, VIT, where the faculty are mostly engineering teachers and the students are mostly engineering students. How does design thinking compete with engineering design? I remember I have done 3 years of engineering design in my mechanical engineering days, and that has no relevance to design thinking. So what is the difference between design thinking and engineering design? And the earlier we understand it, it might help to clear certain clouds. Do you remember this car? This was launched as the Tata Nano. It was launched with great fanfare. It was meant to be the first car in the world less than 1 lakh rupees in cost. In our industry, we call it an epic fail. So much so that for the last 3 years, they haven't produced a single car in the factory because there is still a lot of cars left in their logistics which have not been sold. So what happened? Logic says that you have a car which is so low price that everybody can afford driving. So it should be selling like hotcakes. In fact, in the early days, it did. But then something went wrong. Because they didn't apply design thinking, they applied engineering design. They applied metallurgy, they applied plastics, they applied electronics, they applied pneumatics and hydraulics to build a car. But they didn't apply the principles of design thinking, which is people. The Tata Group was so excited about their own baby that they forgot the first step. People who would drive this car, they didn't think of the people. And let me explain to you the difference between design and engineering design. They design perfect. It was a stable car. It was worth the money. In fact, it was worth more than the money you pay for. It is pretty decent for a family of three, which is a young couple with a small child. It had decent boot space to go to the market on a weekend and pick up your weekly groceries. Everything was right in that. But they forgot about the people, and that's where design thinking and being people centric comes in. The insight about cars in our country is cars are markers of your social arrival status. Unlike you buying a clock or buying a watch, any vehicle stands outside your house and it tells your community around that he has started getting a better job. Very smart guy. Instead of wasting money on doing other things, he bought himself a car. He wants to show the world that he's arrived in life. But the more and more and calling it the cheapest car, the cheapest car, the cheapest car, people's aspirations start clashing with it. I want to show the world that I'm successful. But then if I buy the cheapest car, people will think that I'm not that successful. And the failure happened there. The narrative was not about move up in life, but it's all about afford a cheaper car. Now, that's the art of storytelling. That storytelling would have been better if they understood the consumer insight as to why do people want to buy cars to begin with, especially their first car. Today, the trade in the man owns the high-end product in the luxury segment, and they're doing very well. They have got the design thinking hats now, and some of the newer cars are good or as bad as the Tata Nano, but they seem to be flying off the dealers faster because understood the second line. Who are the people who would drive this car? They learned it well. They moved from an engineering design company to a design thinking company. The brand I handle, I lead the strategy for this globally. Gillette, we all have heard, it's a shaving brand, but they realize that as more people, people keep saying that the world is getting younger, but the world is also aging, and more people need assisted care. They're either in hospitals or they're in old age homes, or they need someone who comes home and takes care of them during the day because the kids are out working. This is a huge initiative in the United States where it innovated and invented a razor which can be used to normal razor work on my cheek, but this razor works on your cheek. By understanding the need that there is, by speaking to healthcare workers, they identified that the normal razor that Gillette makes nicks and cuts senior citizens who are already unwell and they'll longer time to heal. They need a product, not for themselves, but for whom they take care of. They needed a product which would soothe and take care of their patients and those under their care. So the design thing problem that I need to solve so that health workers and the aged would think, oh damn, I never thought about it that way. And that's where the design principle came in. And the handle is made like a paintbrush. Self-use, it's for others' use. So you get a paintbrush, whether you're actually painting on a wall, the handle is towards you, but the bristles are towards the wall, right? This is a product where you hold it, but the blade doesn't point towards you, it points the other way around. It's won multiple awards in global design awards. It's made the Gillette brand become a loved brand, of course, but also added to Gillette's bottom line to an unprecedented number over the last 5 years. Why? They thought people, what do I need? I need this. And that's design thinking. They used creativity to unlock a human need. The elders or the caregivers never said that need. They only spoke about nicks and cuts. But to convert that into insight and say that for people who can't shave themselves, so here is Gillette with product for, to be used on somebody else. It's never happened before sense. It's all about imagination. Could you have imagined? A lot of students here would never have seen that old clunky phone in people's homes. But people are might imagine the phone without wires. And imagine these mobile devices won't even have keypads. iPhone. It looks like the first phone to not have a keypad. It just looked like a slab of glass. Now all phones are like that. The keypad is dead. Landlines are almost dead. What happens is the principle of design thinking is not about accuracy. It's about imagination. Or imagining a service in a way that the customer say, oh, I never thought about that, because that was the unmet need. And that's where engineering design comes. It's all about imagination and innovation. Engineering design comes after. To craft it, to create a product that can be sold without fail. And this whole bunch of young engineers who are going to come out of the Vidyalanka Institute over the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, my request to you is that never give up your intrinsic sense of imagination and creativity. We all create stories, we all create jokes, but when it comes to studying, we are not creating. And when we use our imagination, it's most important. Backup, you need to make it. We also have a lot of academic design thinking be deployed for better teaching. Again, the word imagine. Could you imagine play can be a tool to learn better? When my daughter was 6 years old in school, what is now known as secondary, because up to 5 is primary, secondary, that's when the subject called social, which up to 5 years gets split into history, civics, geography. And as geography, first the kids were going through a class of 30 students was the great travelers of the world, Magellan and Columbus. They traveled by sea and discovered new lands and new cultures and new food and new fabrics like silk and cotton, right? They were the original pioneers of discovering a new world. You could have taught it through the CBSE geography book, but you know what the teacher did to make it come alive? She started the class by saying, children, today I want you all to close your eyes for 10 minutes and just hear me. And they all shut their eyes. She took a spray with salt water and sprayed it on every child's face. Imagine that you're sailing towards India, but obviously Columbus he probably didn't travel with a compass, he went the other way, and he reached the United States. Now, how best can you explain to a child what is it going to and calm water go and discover other than give this 6D experience? Now, that's all it takes. The minute you do that to a child, my daughter has never forgotten that class in her life. And she was telling this to me last week by saying that, why can't, she's now in the 11th standard, why can't my teachers be as fun as it was? She has not forgotten that entire episode of that tool of teaching as well as what she learned that day. The misty spray as I was talking about. But now look at it. Is that the only way? Rabindranath Tagore started Shanti Niketan for experiential learning. It was not classroom teaching. Surf Excel, a brand that I have handled for a very, very long time, starts with the assumption that when kids play, they will stain their clothes. If there is no stain, there is no learning. तो दाग लगने से कुछ अच्छा होता है तो दाग अच्छे हैं और दाग के लिए सर्फ एक्सेल है ना. Encouraging people to learn. Byju's, a lot of children have actually signed up with that, and currently Mr. Baiju Ravindran himself has been yesterday nominated of the 50 best innovators in the world over the last 20 years. That's a huge achievement. What has he done? He hasn't taught a new set of people. He has taught people a new way of learning. And that's where teaching and learning, there is a conflicts happening, and the more creativity comes into teaching, there'll be a better impact on learning. Our Guru Shishya Parampara was all about that. It was not about Ratta modifying by rote the shloka, but to understand the meanings, shlokas in the context of mythology, which is how the Mahabharata and the Ramayana came. Mahabharata, the mythology came to explain the concept of the Gita. The story was not important for the rishis, but it was important for the students. So you have to create a all-round story around it so that the Srimad Bhagavad Gita could be learned, because that is what the tenets of the Guru Shishya Parampara was. So the more we create stories, the more we have an opportunity for kids, students, even adults to say, damn, I never thought about it that way. That's interesting. And the minute that's interesting, you won't forget it. And of course, in corporate life, design thinking as a new way of life for corporate leaders. And a few of our students will come out as being corporate leaders in the next 5 to 6 years. Some of our faculty do interact with corporate leaders on and off, if not every day. How does design thinking impact them? I think I mentioned this before. Could you imagine building the world's largest transportation company, which itself owns no vehicles itself? Uber. Who owns no cars, but the world's largest transportation company. It's bigger than most airlines. It's bigger than most rail companies. I'm using the word transportation. I'm not a mobile company. Same with B&B, Airbnb. Airbnb is the largest hospitality business. It's bigger than Hyatt, it's bigger than Marriott, it's bigger than many others. So even in corporate life, Amazon was the world's largest bookstore in the US without owning a single book. They didn't even have a go down. It was all based on, you want this book, I'll connect you to the publisher, and there'll be a direct connect, which is direct to home rather than you going to a bookstore. But we are a bookstore. And now Amazon has taken that to all aspects. They don't own anything, right? They have started creating their own labels now. But essentially, Amazon is an aggregator. Uber is an aggregator. The aggregator model didn't exist 5 years back, 10 years back, 15 years back. What happened? Why did it happen? Because people imagined. They imagined companies without. They imagined companies without liabilities. That's what senior leadership would have to do as you go forward, especially post-COVID, to change. Apply design thinking. Design thinking, imagine something, try to see what will work with the consumer and deploy it. Which brings me to my concluding remarks. To cut a long story short of what design thinking actually is, our thinking. We have to stop thinking that this is the only way to do things. We have to, and it's realizing that over the last 30, 40 years, more and innovations are happening in the West and hardly much in the world's largest democracy, the world's largest youth population, the world's largest network of educational institutions. We are not innovating as a culture because we don't start with imagining. We need to start with imagining. We need to follow that up with investigating who is it for and would they fix them ideate what will be the right product and implement. So that was what I had to say, and I wish everyone in this session the very best. It might not be the most ideal way of imbibing into such a interesting topic rather than sitting at home and doing it on screen. But I guess better safe than sorry. But I'm really, really delighted that the AICTE and the Vidyalanka Institute have taken the lead of making design thinking a principle imperative for the way our students and our academicians go forward. I thank you very much for the opportunity, and I would be interested if any of you have any bills. You can teach me something, or I can respond to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session today. Wow, that was amazing, really. Like talking first about the strategy as exclusively to understand unmet customer needs. And then you went ahead to talk about understanding human behavior, about how we think. And the need of the hour is to redefine our thinking. So, by citing examples from real life and the stories of various companies which you have unfolded and with whom we are connected on an everyday basis, like Uber, Amazon, and many more, the session was indeed very interesting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, that was really a wonderful session because we are part of design thinking, but yet we don't realize it. So the forum is open for question and answers from the delegates. So any questions I would take up, and sir would be happy to answer them. Yeah.
Fine. Someone wants to just their mic on and ask, because I'm not in any way of digital typing and reading. So please, please feel free.
Yeah, we have a question. I think I am reading from the chat box. Please explain how to use design thinking to attract more students.
Very interesting. Well, again, goes back to certain institutions which draw a lot of students towards the classical IIT, IIM, where the number of students applying for those courses are in multiples than the available seats. So that, in my book, is still the old school way of saying that let me build a great brand with a great legacy so that students will come knocking on my door. But right now, Byju's is bigger from a student count point of view than the entire Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangatana, which is a network of central schools. The number of students in Kendriya Vidyalaya would be all put together about 50,000 students. Byju's is about 3,000 students every day. That's design thinking. They understood a gap. They understood a gap in people's lives, in parents' lives, and they filled it up. Coming specifically to institute, the brick and mortar institutes, I think it would be extremely interesting for faculty and management to start thinking like students. What do students really want? If are students wanting, or are there more? How can a student's life be more enriched in those 3 to 4 years, which when I entered college, I was told these are going to be the best days of your life. These days will never. I was only in the canteen. I never attended class. And it shows complete disaster because our institute didn't give students more than an access to a degree. I think the era is now ripe to be innovative in the overall experience of learning like never before. You'll still get that same degree, which is given by the university or by the AICTE or by the deemed universities. You'll still get that degree. But can a degree from Institute A matter so much different from Institute B under the same university? The difference is the experience that students go through. So the more we think about whom we are for, I think we'll be able to attract more and better students. Easy for me to say, I'm not in this line at all.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think audience, the participants, the delegates can unmute their mic and ask too. There's another question from Arindam Saha, that is there any relation between systems thinking and design thinking?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Arindam, that's a great question. Without sounding flippant about it, and I don't know much about systems thinking, but just logic says that system thinking is what you apply to design thinking. You start with the customer, you understand what the needs are, what the unmet needs are, and you create a solution for that. Now, one of the solutions for that could be a system, and how you manage that system, that ecology, and wire it all together in a manner, and that's my understanding of systems thinking, that you bring in the best of solutions available under the same platform in order to service that customer whose need you're meeting. So I would still say that even system thinking needs design thinking, right? You need to, you call it network design, you call it system design, you call it nodal design. But the fact is, you would still need design thinking. Unfortunately, for a lot of people in our country, they confuse design thinking with graphic design. That's not design thinking. It's not about how things look. It's about bringing the best of what you have in a seamless manner that the user experience and the user interface is brilliant and lovely. So even if you're not the most well-designed product, as long as the experience there, I mean, right now Amazon Prime is beating Netflix hands down, because the system design of Amazon Prime is better because they're actually using the core of Amazon, which is, since you saw this, you might also like this. That's exactly what they do on Amazon. Since you bought that, you might also like to buy this product. So the intuitiveness that Amazon platform brings in, they're using the same principles of system integration into Amazon Video, Amazon Prime Video. And that is encouraging a lot of people to, because on an Amazon Prime Video, you can also see who is the cast, what are the roles, just like a library, just like a information source. So that's a very, very, I don't know whether I've answered it right, Arindam, and I'm sorry if I haven't, but I would guess that system design adds to the fulfillment of your design thinking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very rightfully so. Can we take one more question, sir? There's another question on a practical level from Jocelyn, madam. How do we inculcate and practice design thinking among teachers teaching adults, not the younger students?
Well, when I was doing my MBA and Professor Dr. Amit Oak was batchmate in those days, we always used to enjoy some lectures more than the others. We were not kids, we were adults. We were also stressed about getting a job after our MBA, right? I think the thing is, some faculty members used to make the about us and not about the subject. We were the subject. So, as put shoes, or we say people first, some faculty members have a very innate ability to make the students feel a little bit more important than the subject, because that's what at the end of the day the whole game is, right? Education, it's about making the students imbibe all that they need to know and power themselves with what the future holds for them. So I'm in no position to advise, because I respect teachers more, because you have done lots more than just a guy who's sold his soul to advertising. But I would suspect that teachers who are extremely popular are the ones who have full house attendance, because the sessions are about the students, they're not about the subject. So in my engineering days, My favorite subject was heat transfer because the teacher made the students feel that even we could understand heat transfer. He made a mistake. None of us understood it, but still we had fun in that class. So if we can bring student centricity into every classroom session, it is design thinking.
Yes, sir. And that is really a challenge, sir, because as Hemlata madam also has a related question, like students, they don't want to think, sir, and that is a big challenge. So how to design their thinking for them, like how to inculcate the thinking, in them. So I think that is a pertinent question and a
So
challenge.
I discussed this a couple of weeks back with me that the MBA structure based on case studies is designed for thinking. Uh, Engineering syllabus, which is designed on principles, is not designed to think and innovate. It's designed to learn and get it right. Thinking and creativity should automatically allow people to make mistakes because you won't get it right, which is why prototyping. But the more we have humanities, the more there is thinking, and more we have science, the more we have. Don't think anything else because this is the principle. And if you think away from that, you will be wrong. So it's going to be an interesting mix as we go forward because there's going to be the bringing together of humanities and science in a manner that our people, the future citizens of the world, are as empathetic as they are logical. And design thinking actually forces us to be empathetic. If students can, over and above their engineering courses, also read about sociology, psychology, economics, because this teaches us empathy. Why are we creating a four-wheel drive in my automotive engineering class? Why is it very important? Not just how to. And if you open up our minds and we use engineering to come out with a whole new way of the car because we understood why. We as adults, as a parent, I guess even as a teacher, we need to increase thinking.
Yes, sir. That's a very right, please.
Yes, sir. Can I ask you a question?
Sure, sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. I am Janakiram from Andhra Pradesh, Pace Institute of Technology and Sciences.
Yes,
Sir, the
sir.
question that I want to ask you is, can we compare the blue ocean strategy versus design thinking strategy?
Very interesting. Very interesting. There's a lot of things in common between blue ocean and um, design thinking. One of the biggest examples of blue ocean strategy is the brand Starbucks, which is a global brand now, but in those days, in the late 70s, early 80s, was just restricted to one state in the US. What did they do? They were basically Starbucks started off as being an importer of coffee beans into the US, and they said that if you have to start something on my own, be a brand, I have the way Americans consume coffee is in offices and home. Offices is based on annual contracts with whomever you bought your coffee beans from. For brands, the Nescafes, the Folgers, and so on and so forth. So how do I do it? The strategy said that why should people have coffee only in fixed something called the third space. The third space is a coffee shop from where you can work. So the tables, everything is that you can sit there and do your office work without play. The it is not based on the environment which the two words that used to the world, home and office, merge it together in the third space. You attract new consumers through a very simple device. It's a proposition which is a coffee shop where they smell good. They put perfume or So when you open the door, the blower top gives a gush of warm air if it's winter and cool air if it's summer. They infuse that with the smell of coffee. You need not leave the shop. That's Blue Ocean strategy by saying that I have created a whole new category, which is out of home, out of office drinking. Today, the world walks around. If you see Hollywood movies, it walks around with a cup of coffee in their hands wherever they go. A couple of times I've been lucky to go to the United States. It's a fact. People in New York walk with hot coffee in their hands. I get scared because I'm more worried that it'll spill and burn me. But they have created a culture. The third space creates a culture, created a whole new behavior among Americans. What is design thinking? Very close, but just one difference. The coffee business, and they to find different than other. Design thinking is you don't have to be a coffee player. You say, you know what? People are drinking coffee here and there. Nobody's drinking. Why don't I do it? So it's not linked to coffee. Coffee could be one of the solutions from design thinking. But for Starbucks, coffee would have been the only solution because they started product first or my business first and trying to find the third space. Very interesting question, Mr. Jankiram. There are overlaps, but it would be interesting to also that Starbucks didn't think people first. Starbucks thought coffee first. Design thinking says think people first. Coffee might be a solution. So that's it's just a very subtle difference, but it's a big to do many different things. Blue Ocean allowed Starbucks to do only one thing. Is that kind of clear, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your answer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Janki Raman, for your question. And essentially to understand the design thinking in terms of human behavior, people-centric approach. So that is what we are for, to understand human behavior. And in relation to that, we have another question, sir, it's about MBA students. How do I teach design thinking to MBA students in such a way that it is useful to them in their corporate culture? From Sheetal, madam.
Ma'am, into clusters basis where we want to see our profession in. So first year gets common, and second year we say finance and marketing and systems and so on and so forth. Marketing by nature encourages people to say consumer first. Finance doesn't say getting the audit right. It's about getting principles of commerce into the system. Debit what goes in, credit what goes out. You can't be creative in that. If you're creative, you're a fraudster. So you can't be creative in finance. You can be creative in the system and IT management, as well as the newer emerging streams of logistics and so on and so forth, supply chain. But I think it's very important that in the first year, as a go beyond the book. They have spent 12 years of their life, which is going through school, exam oriented, and then 3 to 4 years, depending on which education stream they pick up for their. It's driven on good marks for the degree. I think when it comes to MBA, mark should no one cares whether you're first class, second class, whether you top the course or not. We have an opportunity to learn from what Rabindranath Tagore for first year students. Make people experience life. MBA, after doing MBA, you're going to work with people. If you're HR, you're going to work with people. If you're in marketing, you're going to work with people. If you're in finance, you're going to work with people. Business is people. And have a student act with people rather than main difference between a great person in the industry, average person in any industry, is people management skills. How we listen, and is the most important when it comes to life. Principle of design thinking: listen to what your customer is saying or not saying. So, if we can encourage our students to with people, with their own peers, the MBA, obviously our students to interact with industry and take summer training and final placements and PPO. Again, we are creating this thing about getting the job as if that's the destination. We should prepare our student what happens at the job. Yeah, they're all great. They got basic qualification, they got their MBA degree, they will get a job. If not now, tomorrow. Our kids
Yes, sir.
ready to be in the chosen stream, and design thinking really matters. Really, really matters.
Yes, sir. There's another question from Amay Revankar, Professor Amay Revankar from VIT. Like, how design thinking bridge the gap between industry and academia?
Sir, I think industry needs academia to push them. Just inventions and discoveries that we see in the United States, whether it be Harvard, industry to think different. Academic life allows us to do small projects. We have the wherewithal to think different and prototype it as small projects with our students. And we need to take it back to industry and say that we discovered that this is going to be the new normal when it comes to, let's say, transportation, or it comes to eating out. So I have a feeling that the intersection of academia and industry, I think academia should be the leader of instilling design thinking into industry. Don't think people. That's what industry is. We're chasing profits. Academia can come in with the from the left field, a new point of view, and saying that do the what the good professor said. Is it about blue ocean or it's about design thinking? Academia can do it because you have the fundamentals in place and you don't have the pressure of an annual bottom line. And academia can then partner with the industry to also fund those projects within the institution, so that it's not coming out of your pockets, but it's a co-created, co-partnered project. So I would not at all say that how the two can come together. I think academia is far more powerful in this than industry can ever be. And academia should take the lead. And I'm so happy that the AICT is doing the Design Thinking Foundation for faculty development. It's not about industry development, because faculty will be the lead. We have seen it in other countries. There's no way, whether it be Asian Institute of Management Philippines, whether it be INSEAD in France, whether it be Harvard or Yale or Stanford, it's academia which is pushing the boundaries of and should be thinking in future. And startups come from some of the let's call it a Mark Zuckerberg, India. They were great students in those institutes, in Stanford or IIT Bombay. But the environment made them to think critical thinking and creative thinking. So academia plays an extremely important role in shaping minds and shaping industry. And I hope it happens soon.
Yes, sir. In relation to this question, we have another question, like from Arun Kumar Ram, professor, who is in the Department of Biomedical Engineering, VIT. Every student has a different needs and expectations in class. How can we innovate to meet every student's expectations?
So this is not just about students in class, it happens in organizations. Every employee has a different need. what motivates person A might not be working for person B. But one thing they all want, they want more salaries. So I think there is a lowest common multiple that every student needs. That has to be the base minimum, or lack of better option, because you know academics more than I do. Let's assume for the time being that they want a degree. But then some person is not happy with just the degree. He wants something else. Or some other person saying the degree is just a passport, it's not the visa. So I need something else. So it's important, just like organizations do, to have a keen look by saying every student would need a top, which is different than the base mileage. So the curriculum is the base mileage. It's the base necessity to get a degree. But there will always be a few who are different than the rest. They look the same, eat the same, they talk the same language. But there's also something which is inside them, which they want to be different as, and not be a cookie cutter who would actually come out as looking just like the other biscuit. And just like organizations, it's not easy. It's not easy to find what ticks everyone. But it starts with spending more time. Start spending time with, for me, my juniors in my team, our colleagues, they're as much adults as I am. They're not bachas. And in the industry, we are ruthless about freshers. We don't treat them with kids' gloves. You know why? Because you vote. You're 18 years plus. You're not a bacha. You're an adult. You have to be conscious that you have to be responsible, right? So we tend to believe in colleges that our students are kids. Our students are not kids. They're adults. They have their ambitions very clear. They know what they are talking about. They are not at all unaware of what's happening in the world. In fact, today's generation is more aware of what's happening in the world than my generation. So it's imperative for us to understand, give them the freedom to fail. Failure should not be ridiculed. Failure should be encouraged. Because when the parameters of success are the same for everyone and expecting everyone to succeed, it's easy. Everyone can pass the exam. Success should not be maintained on what others have achieved, so I should also achieve. Success should be maintained on what others couldn't achieve and I can achieve. Which means I have the confidence to fail a couple of times to achieve that. The Indian education system is not geared for that yet. It doesn't encourage failure. It encourages success. And some of the reasons why some of the brightest minds from student life, they don't succeed in corporate life is because they have been told that don't fail. Corporate life, if you don't fail, you don't stand out. It's everyone doing the same thing. You don't stand out. You feel you deserve more, but exactly what you achieve, somebody else also achieved. Whether it be sales data, whether it be product innovation, the job is a cookie-cutter job. So I would say encourage our youngsters to fail because they're adults. Nobody's going to. It's okay to not be at the top of the class. It's not a failure. But if you can do that and do 3 other projects which show not in the syllabus, it's not in the curriculum, but that's life. And if you can do that, it opens design thinking because they're creative by nature. People are creative I mean, I've seen a kid drawing, extremely creative, till the mother or the dad comes and say, hey, that's not how a car looks. It's not accepted. But the kid who is drawing and creating stories in her mind, she's having the fun of her. But the more we encourage them to come with their new conditioning, that design, that becomes creative design. I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because ultimately it's about getting closer to the user, to the human behavior, understanding human behavior, about empathizing with them. And that is how we can meet the individual needs of the students also, and we can understand the individuals or in a rational way. The closer we are to their minds, the closer we would understand them. So, final question from Rena Arya. Can we say that design thinking is an extension of users' experience or vice versa?
Uh, we can treat experience but we understand behavior. We need to understand behavioral sciences. We need to understand what makes a person think. Why does a person do this? Right now, there are in which I see movies and content. There is Netflix, Amazon Prime, Sony Live, because the cricket matches are being shown only on Sony Live. It's all over. Everyone has a unique uh, experience. A bad experience makes me leave a restaurant, but great experience it can't be a recruitment factor. You can't just come and say, you'll have the best experience if you come to my restaurant. I won't even come to you. But experience makes me leave you. If we understand why certain experiences are considered bad by users, that is the behavior. The behavior, right? We can come with better experiences to leave us. So, critical thinking out of there is always a box, out of the box thinking, and I think we always teach our kids that think out of the box. No, you have to think within the box. There is a budget, there is a timeline, there is client in our industry, the need of if I don't do it, somebody else will do it. It's always a box. So not think out of the box. It's think within the box differently. If I can change the planes, if I can change the angles, if I can look at the world this way rather than the way the world is being seen, that's where creative thinking comes in. Critical thinking is not to be happy about your own thoughts. You have to be your biggest critic yourself, because uh, if you don't question your own creative thinking, somebody else will, and your entire effort is actually down the drain. So, critical thinking, creative thinking to look at human behavior, the result could be a great experience. The result could be a great product, like the Gillette Trio. It's not an experience, it's a product. Of course, the product experience is something givers and the receivers enjoy, but the product based on behavior, that why should a grooming aid always point towards the user and not towards the caretaker? So that's where the human behavior insight comes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and your patience and the wonderful, enlightening presentation with real life examples. And thank you to all the delegates, participants who have really carved out their time in spending here and interacted with the guest today. So that was really great to hear and get questions from you all. And I hope we were able to answer. And in the forthcoming days, we would try to do our best. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and that wonderful session, so once again.
Thank you
And
so
before
much.
I,
Thank you. It has
yes,
been a privilege for me, and I wish everyone exciting next 3 days to have fun with this subject, because it's new and it can only be fun. I wish you all the very best.
thank you, sir. And before I conclude the session, just how can I not mention in this context the great Leonardo da Vinci, who did not have any of these resources that we have today. And yet they immersed themselves into history, into arts and the sciences through the nostalgic world of design. Isn't that remarkable? So let's dive into the world of design thinking and try to recreate it during the 5 days of our FDP and apply the strategies, apply the new principles in our professional lives, in our teaching, we can say everyday life more so, because the ultimate aim, as Sir reiterated, is to make our lives easier. So that's what we hope for. So on behalf of the Department of First Year Engineering and on my own behalf, I convey my wholehearted thanks to our keynote speaker today, Mr. Arun Raman, for sharing his experience with us today. Also, I would request Madam Sheetal to kindly throw some light on the FDP. I think Madam Sheetal would like to say something in this regard, if Madam is present. Is Sheetal Madam present? Ambadas Deshmukh sir?
Yes, if Sheetal Madam is present, please unmute yourself and speak. If Lily Pradhan Madam is present, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Yes, please, Madam. We would like to hear from our delegates also, few words. There might be some network issue also, I believe. Okay. My humble gratitude goes to all our delegates for their participation, and together let us make this FTP a memorable one for us. So signing off now. See you all after the break at 2:30 p.m. for the insightful session by Dr. Bala Ramadurai, Professor at NPTEL. And thank you once again to our delegates and to our chief guest. Thank you, sir, and thank you, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, okay. Sheetal Madam is here.
Hello, I'm not able to hear your audio. Hello.
Okay. Lily Pradhan Madam, would you like to say some words?
It was a very nice session, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you so much for arranging such design in thinking, such a new idea.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello. Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And now we can end the session here and we'll meet in the next session at 2:30. Thank you all.
Okay, sir. Yeah. See you all at 2:30. Thank you.